Coach Ken, thank you for your time. Once again, I appreciate all the coaches coming on and giving us their valuable time, especially considering the world that we're living in right now. First is first, as always, ask, how are you doing?
That we are. We're all home as a family, and doing pretty well. Trying to live life as normal as possible. And I've been, there have been some great coaching clinics over these last couple weeks. So actually, over the last couple weeks, I took part in 24 coaching clinics.
Okay.
From a bunch of Division I, Division II coaches, and so it's a great way to stay in the game.
Nice. Have you guys been keeping in touch with your student athletes? And if you guys have been, what have you guys been telling them? What's been the message that you guys have been getting out?
I wouldn't even say there's much of a message given out, but it's just check-ins and making sure that them and their families are doing well and that they're being safe. I'm not knowledgeable enough on what's going on to pass along any advice, but I just want to make sure they're good.
Absolutely. That's, I think, the most important thing, especially considering there's so much information that's out there. Now, let's talk about your programs. You wear a lot of hats at Copper Mountain. And by the way, the Fighting Cacti is probably one of my top 3 favorite mascots of all time. So, every time I type in the URL address, I always get a little smile because it's so unique. It's awesome.
I think we're the banana slugs for the best in California.
That there should be. We should probably send something out there and see what kind of competition we can get out there regarding that. You're not only the men's basketball coach, but you are also the athletic director.
I'm the women's basketball coach.
The women's basketball program. Sorry, I apologize for that. You're a man of many hats. Now let's talk about the men's program first. 14-14 overall, 500 season. Does program consider that a successful season?
No, I think they fell short of their goals, and they were right there, to meet their goals, but they fell a bit short, and they really felt like they should have been a playoff team this year. But all in all, I think we're gonna get a handful of kids to the next level. So in that regard, yes, it was successful. As far as record goes and where they wanted to be, probably not.
Sure. I mean, you're right about that. With the exception of Chaffee, who was, they're playing an entirely different, world this year. They're just playing amazing. Majority of the games were close, and a couple of them, I want to say about 2 or 3 of those games by a mere 1 point. So it's right there. I mean, the program is right there, and like you said, it's whether it was falling short, or whether it was, depending on where the ball bounced, literally, when you're losing by a point here or there, it's literally the luck of the ball.
Yeah, it is. And, it just kind of goes to show you how great the Inland Empire Athletic Conference was this year. What Chaffee did was phenomenal. At the beginning of the school year, before basketball even started, I sat down with our men's coach, and we were kind of talking about things, and we kind of felt like 11 wins, 12 wins, 13 wins would be right there to win the Inland Empire, because we knew how competitive it would be. And for Chaffee to run the table was phenomenal.
They did play amazing. Got 2 players I want to talk quickly about: Hiking Bisbin and also Dylan Boyles, both about 13.5, 13.1 points per game. Do we know what their next steps are? Especially considering right now with, eligibility, all these things being thrown around, which we're not quite sure where we are yet. Are we? Do we know where these guys are headed?
They're not signed yet. Hiking will go NAIA just because of his clock. Okay. So he's probably going to have to go NAIA, and he will be a real asset to somebody. 6'6", athletic kid that just a workhorse inside, and did a lot of damage all year. Dylan's looking. He'll go D2. He's got a couple offers on the table. He hasn't signed yet, but I think I know where he's going. But I just don't want to throw that out quite yet.
Well, you let us know when we can make that announcement. We'll let everybody know. As we talked about the men's program, it's definitely a program on the way up. Just in your view, in your opinion, what do you think this program needs in order to get that next level, competing against Chaffee next season?
More experience. You know, we are a third-year program.
Yeah.
So for them to be where they are through 3 years is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's you know, we just didn't make winning plays down the stretch in a couple games. But I think they have 5 kids moving on, but they have a real core group coming back that played a lot of quality minutes, that have now been in those situations a little bit more. They feel good about some of the recruits they got coming in. Obviously, we lost some real key components like the two you mentioned. Zach Croker, who's going to go Division II.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a couple guards that are looking at NAIA and D3 options. So those kids are tough to replace, but on the other hand, I think the experience that the returners got this year is really going to help propel them into next year.
Sounds good. Now let's segue over to the women's team, which you are the head coach of. You know, kind of a rebuilding year. Tell us about this year and some of the things that the team did well, and some of the things that the team definitely needs to improve on next season.
Yeah, we didn't really consider this to be a rebuilding year coming into it. We lost. We had one girl who was first team All Orange Empire the year before. That she was a little bit older, and she had a couple kids, and she kind of opted not to. She decided she wasn't going to come to school this year.
Okay.
That was a big hit right at the beginning of the school year, and then we lost somebody in our showcase that we never got back. Who was supposed to be one of our better players this year. So we took our lumps with injuries this year, but you know, the girls fought. They fought really hard. We actually competed down the stretch with 5 girls most of the time, and you know, ended up taking 5th place in conference. So we weren't happy with where we were, but it was real positive to see the way the girls finished. We had a great win against Barstow, final game of the year. And they competed. That was kind of the word I used all year, is just keep competing, and they did.
Yeah, that's definitely sometimes what determines the season is what happens at the beginning, whether, like you mentioned, whether life gets in the way in a sense, or injuries are all part of a game. Now, when anyone talks about Copper Mountain College basketball, everyone, of course, talks about your sophomore sensation, Lalisa Watson. I have to ask, where did you find her? How did she get to Copper Mountain? And secondly, what makes her special?
I can't tell you where I found her. She played. I got the job in June of 2018. And it was about mid-June, maybe towards the end of June, that we got wind about her, and she was living on and went to high school on the Navajo Indian Reservation in Arizona. She's full-blown Navajo, and has lived there her whole life, and she was valedictorian of her high school and really didn't get many basketball looks. And she was a very accomplished basketball player in high school, but she was valedictorian, and she decided she was going to go to University of Arizona on a academic scholarship.
Okay.
But she still had the desire to play basketball, and when I finally got to talk to her, it didn't take much persuading for her to pursue basketball.
Sure.
And she gave up her opportunity to go to University of Arizona to come to Copper Mountain and play basketball and further her education.
Sure. Well, I have to ask you, does she remind you of anyone, how she plays? Especially, I mean, she led the state in points per game with 28.2. That's a big deal. Do we know where she's headed next? What she's up to? Because you're averaging close to 30 points a game. You're going to get looks. People are going to talk about it. What's her next step?
She's getting a lot of looks, and she's still weighing all of her options. Obviously, the academic side is very, very important to her. So she's trying to find that right fit for basketball and academics. Okay. And there are, 7 or 8 schools that are currently after her and talking to her on a regular basis. So, I as a matter of fact, I haven't talked to her in a week or so. So I'm going to reach out and kind of see where she's at this point.
Well, you let us know when that announcement can come down. And does she remind you of anyone particular? Just her style of play?
LeBron?
There you go.
I mean, she scores it.
Yeah.
She can facilitate. She can rebound. She's a pretty good defender. She had moments where she took over games, and she had 53 against Desert this year. Mm-hmm. A funny story to start the year. We were in a tournament in Santa Barbara, and she scored 33 in the first game, and I jokingly said, "Is that the best you can do?" And she had 40 the next 2 games, so she kind of shut me up there.
Yeah, I saw her stat lines come through, and especially that game against COD, and I was like, wow, look at this thing. So we're definitely going to be excited to see where she ends up, and as we always talked about, the talent in the conference is amazing. What are we looking forward to next season?
Well, we are on both sides. We are, currently getting in players and looking to continue to build as a new program. Just finishing our 3rd year. I mean, we feel like we're fairly established right now on both sides, just as a school as far as athletics go, and we need to take that next jump. Sure. We really want to see both teams in the playoffs next year. And we really feel like that's a reasonable goal for both of us. I work very closely with Walter Parham, our men's coach, and we talk almost daily. And that's kind of the neat part about Copper Mountain is the men's and women's programs are really, really close since it's the 2 athletic programs. So, you'll see the players are always hanging out on both sides, and the coaching staffs are always bouncing ideas off each other. So, we talk all the time, and we really, we say that this is the year. This is the year coming up. I mean, both teams got to make big strides.
Well, I love it. Once we get everything going again, definitely a program we got to keep an eye on. Coach, thank you again for your time. Stay safe, stay indoors, and once we get going, we'll reach out and we'll get this thing going again.
Thanks, Bo. I appreciate it. All the best to you. All the best to everybody else in the Inland Empire Athletic Conference and everybody else that's watching this. So stay safe, and we look forward to getting back on the fields and the courts and getting this thing going again.
Great, Coach. Thank you. We'll talk soon.
All right. Take care.